Thank you, AG Richard Ong. All right, and also thank you to CP Bansing for the invitation. All right, I'm really a privilege to be able. Okay, wait, y'all can hear me, right? Okay, so privileged to be sharing my little knowledge with all of you. So yes, I've been in events for the longest time. All right, so let me just share my screen and to take you all through the entire next 30 minutes. Okay, so this is just a little more background about myself. I've been in events since I graduated. So if you do your math, yes, more than 25 years, I've been in the events industry. In between, I've actually kind of like jumped up to do some other things, and I came back in because I think at the end of the day, I just feel that events is my calling. So it's very tiring, yes, but I still enjoy doing it. And about 12 years ago, I had the opportunity to start training events, and that got me excited as well because I realized that when I was dealing with the clients, and then some clients are kind of like clueless as to like why events people need certain information and all that. So that got me interested, and I had the opportunity to start training with Republic Poly. And since then, I've been, being quite focused on training, partly also because as age catches up, I mean, I have to accept that it is very tiring to run events, okay? But I still enjoy doing it, although I'm just straddling between two. I'm doing events as well as doing training. And like I say, I'm very thankful I've gone to training because when COVID hit, the entire event industry is dead. All right, so I think so at least we are still training students and all that to have a better understanding of what events is all about. So this is just a little credential of myself. I would say that the largest event I've ever had a chance to be involved in was Windows 2000. All right, and I still hold a record of running 1,000 dating events over the span of 2 years. So that's just a little feather on my head. And I've been training, I say, for the last 12 to 13 years. Predominantly is in areas of events. So anything that's related to event, that's what exactly I am actually training. So having said that, right, I mean, we're all in Rotary clubs. We probably have in some way or another done events, large scale, small scale, it doesn't really matter, right? But those of us who have done events, or those of you who have done events, you probably realize that doing events is not that difficult, but neither is it easy, right? Because there's so many different people you're dealing with. So how do you make it a lot easier? So the only way to make it a lot easier is that if you have certain system to follow and you have certain flow that you can kind of like work on, that would actually definitely make your entire process a lot easier. And to be very honest, when we are talking about community service project or fundraising events, it can get a little bit more sensitive because we have a lot more stakeholders you're going to deal with. You have your sponsors to be mindful of. You have your donors to look out for. Unlike a corporate events, the client pay you, you execute, and then case closed. Or when it's a community service event, a charity events, we have to be a little bit more careful on how do we deal with the whole process and make sure that everybody, especially our stakeholders, are well taken care of. All right, so what we understand is that, like what I share with my other students. So having said that, what exactly is events? If you look at this definition, right, events basically is what we believe is multi-sensory, multidisciplinary. Why do we say that? It's because, right, you think about it, let's say we're going to plan an event for Rotary Day next year. Okay, you have to start thinking, okay, the date is firmed up, 23rd of February, so everybody knows. But what are you going to do? Who are you going to reach out? Are you going to do it as a fundraising event? Are you going to do it as just a community service event? But out of that, what exactly are you doing? Are you going to plant a tree? Or are you going to are you going to plant a tree? Are you going to go to the old folks home? Are you going to do a beach cleanup? What? Each type of activities will require different kind of assistance and this different kind of timeline for you to manage. Like for example, I know PP Chiwi, right? Did I get a name correct? When you all did that cycling, I'm sure it's a huge mammoth task. All right, for you to cycle from the Rotarian in India all the way, cutting through all the different continents and reaching Singapore. It's definitely no easy feat. All right, but something has to go. Somebody is definitely holding on to the flow very well in order to make sure that the timing flow accordingly. There's no delay, or if there's a delay, how would the next pit stop people know what's going on? right? So it's multidisciplinary in that sense because we have to make sure everything flows. The finance, the security, the risk management, making sure that, you know, they cycle safely, there's no issue, and then finally they reach Singapore. All right, and then after we're going to ensure that they fly back to where they came from. So it's everything has to come together for you to deliver one event. So it may sound simple, right? But it may sound complex as well. So how do we make it, people like us, how do we make it as simple as we possibly can? All right. I will just very quickly touch on this slide. This is basically just telling you all the various types of events that are out there in the market. So what we do basically falls under special events, right? Because it's not really, okay, it's not really a meeting unless we're talking about our own meeting events here. But basically it's not really an incentive, it's not really conference unless we're talking about RI convention. And it's also not exactly exhibition. So what we are doing here in Rotary would fall under special events more than the other 4 category of events, right? And the duration can depend. When we do our club meetings, 2 hours finish and that's it. We do our community service event, we have a day. Some of us are more gung-ho, we can do 1 whole day, or like the cycling event was over what, a few weeks or a couple of months, right? So the duration of events is determined by the organizer, ourselves. How many days, how many hours is really up to us. But what is more important is that, do we have the resources? Firstly, a lot of us sometimes get a bit too ambitious. We want to do a big scale event, but after that, then we realize that we don't have enough resources. So whenever we plan an event, the first thing we always look at is, we look at our, what we call our manpower resources, especially when we are a service club, where we don't have large scale number of hands and legs to come in. We need to look at our manpower resources. Do we have enough resources? Secondly, we have to be realistic. Do we have the financial resources? All right, because you cannot be expecting to always dip into the club's coffer, right? If you always keep doing that, and at the end of the day, you're going to be looking at an empty bank account. So we have to need to look at the financial resources that the club has. Lastly, we call it the technical resources. Assuming you say you want to do a large scale marathon example, but does the club has the resource? Do you have the technical know-how? You don't have, never mind. You have friends, which means that you have the manpower resources that you can rope in to help you do that part of it. Well and good. So these are usually the 3 resources we think about: manpower resources, financial resources, the technical know-how resources. If these 3 are all in place, chances are you can deliver the event a lot more smoother. It's still not guaranteed success, but it's definitely a lot more smoother as compared to if you have one or the other slightly lacking. Okay? So having said that, once you have these resources, assuming you know you have these 3 resources in place, then what we normally will do is we'll look at the 4 stage. All right, these are the 4 very basic stage. If you all have done event before, you all have done your own reading before, you'll realize that there are a lot more. Some have 5 stages, some have 7 stages. There's nothing wrong. For me is, I believe, 4, simple, just 4 stage. First thing is, what concept? Concept actually will come before your resources. So if let's say now we say, let's do a K-pop concert and raise money for next Rotary year, example. So you want to do a K-pop concert, then you need to look at, do you have these 3 resources? Do you have the technical know-how? Do you have the connection to the K-pop people? Yes or no? Don't have, no need to talk already. But some people say, no, don't have, never mind, but I got money. Money can make the whole world go around. Yes, but my next question is, this is supposed to be for community service, supposed for charity. Would you want to use the money and pay, or do you think the money should go towards a much better use? Okay, then the last one would be, do you have the overall, the final manpower? So these are the 3 we'll measure. If these 3 fits in, then technically speaking, your concept works, and then you go to the second phase, which is your coordination phase. All right, so with the coordination, that's where you start pulling in your people. Okay, maybe I talk to the artist management, maybe I talk to the venue, maybe I talk to the ticketing office, and so on. So that's where all the coordination comes in. And this part is usually the most tedious, because you need to make sure everything fits into, firstly, the budget that you have. It also flows into the date that you have. All right, then from there also, if you're going to sell tickets, how much you're going to sell the tickets. So your budgeting comes in. All right, so it's always chicken and egg. Do you decide the ticket price first, or you decide the budget first? No right or wrong. If you are able to say, okay, let's sell the tickets at $200, would you have enough people to buy $200 to fill the entire ballroom or to fill up the venue? Okay, so this is all the little nitty-gritty thing you need to, under the coordination state, you need to plan it out properly. So after the coordination, that's where the final execution comes in. The actual day, you go into the venue, you build up your stage, you build up your sound and light, your artist comes in, you know, you go to the airport to receive them, you do all your hospitality, and then you do your rehearsal. So that's the actual execution. And then when the actual concert happens, that's the actual final execution. When the event ends, you do your close. If it's a fundraising event, it's very crucial because why? You need to make sure that your budget fits in properly. You make sure you meet your 30-70 rule. I mean, as Rotary, if the money goes to foundation, I believe we have the 30-70 rule, right? Because I used to do fundraising events and all that. So the 30-70 still applies. So you're going to make sure that your budget is properly. Otherwise, we have to answer to the relevant authority that why you didn't meet your 30-70 rules. All right, then from there, you do your final closure. If it's a fundraising event and there are sponsors sometimes wants to see report, like how much was raised, how many tickets were sold, what is the overall review of the event, and is there publicity, and so on and so forth. So these are the 4 steps that normally we go through. Okay, so the next few slides is just very quickly for you to take a look. I'm going to skip that one. So stage 2, like I say, right, when we do the coordination itself, we will also look into risk management. So let's say concert. What are the risk management? Last minute, the artist manager say, oh, one of the group cannot turn up. That's a risk management, right? So how are you going to deal with it? They cannot come in, then how? So do you have a replacement? If there's a replacement, does the replacement cost you money? If the replacement doesn't cost you money, well and good. But if the replacement costs you money, who is responsible for paying the cost? All right, if you don't pay, the artists don't come in, then the concert cannot happen. So these are risk management that we have to plan, right? So having said that, normally when I talk to client regarding especially charity events, I usually tell the client, yes, we taking into consideration of the donors and contributors. Now there's so many types of events. We need to get creative so that people are willing to donate to support the event. But yet on the other flip side, if it's too funky an event and there is high risk of things going haywire, then my suggestion sometimes to the client is that don't risk it because this is a fundraising event. What is more important? You need to look at the end goal. If the end goal is to make sure that you raise the fund for the group of people, then that has to be the end goal. All right, then your event, I won't say you find a boring event. You can still find a simple event, but add some different dimension to it so that it is still fun. All right, I know because now the charity dollar is split into so many different agencies, so many different types of charity. Even, let's be honest, even among Rotary, sometimes we fight among each other. Do I donate to my club? Do I donate to this club? I mean, it's like just even Rotary itself, we're going to decide who are we donating to, right? So you can imagine if it's a much bigger one, you know, there are how many hundreds of charity out there. Okay, so risk management is very crucial when we do fundraising events. So fundraising event also, like I said, we try not to make it too complex because the more complex it is, the more cost item that's going to be. And when there are more cost items going to be, there's also that chance of it being, going a bit haywire, that's going to be. And when things go haywire, your troubleshooting is going to cost you money as well. Right? So risk management is something that when we do fundraising, we will take note of. Okay. And then of course, when we talk about the actual coordination, we'll do all the planning, the flow of the program and so on and so forth. Right? I want to go into this detail because I want to focus on the 6 A's because that's the one that will give you all a much better insight on how do you design the entire event. All right. So coordination, then we go into the budgeting. So like I say, fundraising events, budgeting is very, very important. All right. Because 30-70 is no joke. 30-70 is based on the amount you raised. So it's not based on the amount you target to raise. So if you say you target to raise 100,000, and in your mind you say, okay, if I raise 100,000 means I can spend 30,000. Yeah, if you hit 100,000, but what if you only raise 50,000? If you only raise 50,000 means you only can spend 15,000. All right, it goes accordingly. So that's why, when you aim 100,000, my training from my very, very first job, I was doing services for community chairs, all right, the then ED, she's very, very strict. We will train, when we do fundraising event, our budget is 10% or less. So if let's say now we are targeting to raise 100,000, we are only told we can only spend up to 10%. So this is really making it safer for all of us. If for some reason we fall short, we know that we will still be within the 30%. All right. So this is just a little tip for y'all. I'm sure you are aware, especially some of you are very senior Rotarians, you all be aware. But sometimes we can overlook. Okay, so my suggestion is that whatever amount you're going to raise, make sure that you don't base on the 30% maximum cap, because really if you missed it, then you will be in trouble. All right. So and this is what we do. And what we always do is that we always try to ask people to sponsor. Okay, so when people sponsor the printing cost, the discount, that will help us reduce the amount. So budgeting becomes very crucial when fundraising events is concerned. All right. And of course, you look at sponsorship. And sponsorship, if you get people to raise funds for you, now the market may have changed, but it used to be the commission we pay for people to do sponsorship is between about 20 to 25% of the cash amount that you bring in. So if I have you raise 10,000 for a project, my commission is actually up to 25%. Okay, so which is negotiable. Now when the market a bit bad, but it's chicken and eggs. When the market is tough to find sponsors, then the canvasser can ask you for more because it takes more legwork to find the same dollar. All right, so these are things that, you know, just to share a little bit about if you are looking for larger scale event whereby you may need fundraising. Okay, then actual execution. This is where we talk about all the manpower planning and moving in and all the briefing for your volunteers and your part-timers. All right, and then finally close it off with all the necessary photographs, and all the necessary reports, like how many participants, how much was raised, how much media acknowledgement was given, and then we put it into a final report before we submit to all the necessary stakeholders. Right. So this is the 4 steps that we look into. But like I say, I think this is the part that's more interesting. Okay, this is the one that I kind of develop it along the way as I'm running events. So I call it the 6 A's of events design. So assuming, let me just use something that is going to be beneficial for the club. If let's say you want to use it, we all know that the 7th cost that RI has added is environment. Okay, so assuming let's say 2021, E-Club is going to do a project that's related to environment. All right, so we'll just use this as a rough project. So as I take you all through the 6 A's, it's easier for you to understand. And at the end of the day, President Eddie, if you want to take the project and use, you can take and use, okay? It doesn't belong to me. All right, you can just take it and use it. All right, so assuming you want to do an environmental related event for Rotary Day 2021, okay? So how are you going to develop this whole thing? So first thing would be, you have to remember, when we do events, it's always about creating the right positive experience for all your stakeholders. It's not just you, not just me, not just the beneficiary. It's anybody that could potentially be part of your entire event, right? So you have to remember that events is all about creating a positive experience, okay? Not negative experience, positive experience. So how are you going to put everything together to achieve that positive experience? So this is where I came up with the 6 A's. So first thing, okay, this is a 6A, it's audience, activities, anticipation, atmosphere, appetite, and amenities. So the 6 A's. I'll take you all through one at a time so you know what each of it means. So the first one is audience. So now you think, next year we want to do something for the environment. Okay, we want to do for Rotary Day, but Rotary Day is on a Monday, if I'm not wrong, next year. So okay, so maybe you can't do Monday because you want to involve more people. So you have to think, who is your audience? This event is for who? Okay, is it just for are you going to work with your Rotaractor, your Interactor? So, and then at the end of the day, this project, is it meant for who? Assuming we just do a quick one. Let's think about a beach cleanup. Okay, beach cleanup, easy to remember, right? So beach cleanup, then who are you targeting? Which is basically anybody and everybody, right? Because a nice beach, everybody gets to enjoy. Okay, so the beneficiary become the public at large. but who are you working with? Are you getting your interactors? Are you getting your Rotaractors? Are you getting your other, other club family members and all that? So who are you working with? So once you know who are you working with, then it's easier for you to decide, say, okay, we're going to have interactors, we're going to have Rotaractors, we're also going to have our Rotarians, we are going to have our partners and so on and so forth. So which means your audience is wide and varied. They could be from as young as 12 to as old as 80. So you have that wide spectrum, you have ladies, you have gentlemen, you have a whole group of people, right? So once you determine that that is your audience, that is your whole group of stakeholder, the next thing would be, yes, it's a beach cleanup, but what other activities can you add in? Just going to the beach and pick up the trash, what else? Do you think you can attract enough people? Do you think you can keep your audience engaged? All right, doing beach cleanup is simple. 45 minutes, you probably can clean a stretch of beach if you have enough people. But what kind of activities are you going to put in so that your Rotaractor will say, okay, I think it's quite interesting? Or what kind of things are you going to put in so that your interactor will say, okay, I think this is quite exciting. It's not just a beach cleanup. All right, and also your own members. What are you going to put in so that your members will be eager to come forward and say, yes, I'm in this. They won't think about it, say, dirty, go clean beach up, so hot, my shoe get wet. You know what I mean? Everybody will have all their excuses to not be there. So you need to come up with the right activities to attract them to want to be there. The word here is they want to be there. If they don't want to be there, you can have the best thing, they also won't want to be there. So the trick of it is that you need to put activities for them to want to be there, not they need to be there. Because once they want, things move as easy, as smooth as you can be. So you will think, what would make me want to be there? So during this part, right, what we normally do is we'll ask among friends, hey, if I have a picnic after that, would you come with your family? Some people say, not bad, okay, after beach cleanup, I come with my family, we have a little picnic. Yeah, maybe, something, it gives me a reason to pack a picnic bag and then we come. All right, so you have to think. Then you ask maybe the interactor, what will make you want to come? Ask the Rotaractor, what will make you want to support us? So if they give some ideas, they will probably say, okay, why not we do it there? So the beach activity is just an activity to draw them. No, sorry, the beach activity is just the activity, but the the other frills are probably the one that's going to attract them to come for the event itself. All right, so that's activity. So once you create the activity, this is the part that what we always say, sometimes we over-promise and we under-deliver. And this is the worst ever. Okay, if you over-promise and you under-deliver, when they show up at the event, they're like, you mean like that called picnic? You mean like this called fun activities? You can't. And a lot of us sometimes, a lot of my clients sometimes make a big mistake here because they will say that the event is like that. Okay, then when the participants all go down, the delivery is only this level. So you know what's going to happen next? The next time you do the event, they're going to tell you, say, don't bother, waste time, bluff one. Okay, but neither do we want to under promise and over deliver, because you under promise, they don't show up. So this is the part. Anticipation is related to marketing. How are you going to make people want to come? So once they are interested to come, you're going to make sure that you deliver what you promised to deliver and beyond. Okay, then the fourth one, okay, no, this is one. Okay, the fourth one is atmosphere. So atmosphere can be give and take a bit. You say, if this is the beach cleanup, you don't really need to create atmosphere. You don't have to go and purposely litter the beach. All right, atmosphere is to tell them that if this is, I'll just stray a little bit. If let's say now this is a gala dinner, okay, so atmosphere here, it means that when the participant shows up, they must feel that it is a gala dinner. All right, so if let's say this is a beach cleanup, of course, you're going to make sure that please all come in your shorts, maybe wear slippers or wear flip-flops. And so the whole setup got to make them feel that this is an outdoor, fun in the sun, family kind of event. So that's atmosphere. So having said that, the 6 A's has no equal weightage. Sometimes, like for example, if it's a gala dinner, the atmosphere weightage probably is heavier. If it's like this beach cleanup, the atmosphere, this A is probably a lot smaller. Okay, so create the atmosphere, and after that, the next one is appetite. Same thing, If this is a beach cleanup, the appetite which relates to F&B may not be crucial. But if you tell them, oh, after the beach cleanup, everybody is going to be entitled to a picnic basket. Then you're going to make sure that what is inside the picnic basket is relevant to a picnic, like maybe sandwiches, like some bottled water. If you want to talk about healthy living, then give them more like, you know, like vegetable chips and all that, you know, or fruits or bananas and so on and so forth. So yes, you can still create a nice picnic basket where everybody can enjoy a picnic basket. And maybe you can say each picnic basket costs $20. Then you get sponsors, so you raise money from the picnic basket. All right. And then the very last one is what we call amenities. Amenities here relates, or rather refers to your ultimate takeaway. See, in events, right, the takeaway can be physical. Okay, it can be like gloves, because this is a beach cleanup, right? You give them this to say wear, and then you can take and keep it after that. Or it could be intangible, the entire experience they get from the whole event. Usually we strive for positive intangible takeaway, because why? This is something that they will remember longer. Give them a glove. If after the end of the beach cleanup, the glove tear, they will throw. So there's nothing for them to remember. All right. So, but if you give them that kind of experience together with the family, you know, and knowing that they're doing something good for the greater good of the environment, this will they will remember this much longer. And the next time, if your club do something similar, need not be environment, something similar also for charity, they are more likely to say, hey, let's do this, because the activities that E-Club created is exciting, it's fun, they deliver what they say they will deliver. So yeah, why not? All right, so amenities, usually we always strive to make sure that it is intangible instead of tangible. I'm not saying tangible cannot, still can, all right? But tangible costs money, yeah? To give glove costs money, all right? But if you create an intangible experience, that has zero cost, okay? So this is the 6 A's. Like I say, once again, the 6A has no equal weightage. Sometimes the audience is very, very crucial. We need to make sure the audience is correct, right? But we always say, if you cannot remember the rest, at least be mindful of the audience that you're dealing with. Right? And it becomes more crucial if your audience is a very wide audience. If the audience is shorter, example, you're going to do a mooncake event at the old folks' home. Who is the audience? The old folks, right? So there's only that small, short spectrum. So then you start thinking, okay, what kind of food can the old people eat? Not too heavy, not too bad for the stomach. Okay, so you decide your F&B. What kind of amenities these old people like? Well, maybe give them some things that they can make use of at home. All right. Then what kind of anticipation? Probably not a lot of anticipation, because the arrangement is through the, let's say, through the old folks' home. So you don't need to do a lot of marketing. All right. And then, but what kind of activities? You cannot make the old folks stand up, run, dance, jump, right? So what kind of activities? Your activities has to be something that the old people can deal with, right? So the important really is understanding the profile of your audience. And from there, it's a lot easier for you to break down, okay, what is best. All right, so if your audience is a much more tighter profile, it's a lot easier. But if your audience is much wider, then you just need to be a bit more mindful. Whatever ideas you think about, throw it to the people from that same age group. Just ask them, say, hey, what do you all think? All right, because they are the best person that will give you the answer. Don't just assume. For example, we are in our 40s, 50. What we think is fun, the 20-something will tell you, say, what we think is fun for them, they'll probably think, uncle, this one is not our time. All right, so just ask them. I mean, if you're close to your Rotaractor and Interactor, just ask. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to share with you what kind of activities will make them be excited. So the word here is, what are the things that will get them excited and they want to be part of this whole activities. All right. So once again, so you can see creating the right experience, right, is from the moment you understand your audience, you understand your theme, then at the start of it, your anticipation, your activities, your atmosphere, your appetite, and your amenities must all flow, so that when they leave the event, they take with them all the positive experience. So it's like a build-up. You build up by creating the marketing anticipation. Then when they come to the event, wow, the activity is exciting. Wow, the atmosphere adds on to the whole feel, the 5 senses and all that, plus the appetite, the food is nice and all that. And then finally, the final takeaway that they bring home. Okay, so the more you layer, the more positivity you layer on, okay, the more interesting and more exciting they're going to get over your event. So like I said, bottom line is the final takeaway is not just a positive experience. The final takeaway is also wanting to come back and support your event over and over again. And if you're doing membership, that's where you get your membership. All right. So, okay, so this is just one example of atmosphere. I didn't take out this slide, so I'll just show you guys. This was in KL, one of my clients' events. So we rented a badminton hall. We did the outside, you know, because this was a fashion show event. So outside is not so fantastic, but if you look at the inside, right? Badminton hall, I'm sure you all know how badminton hall look like. Just badminton courts, right? So this is what we did inside. Okay, so the entire place was converted into a runway. So this is what we meant by atmosphere. Okay, so if you tell people that, oh, this is going to be a high-end Victoria's Secret look-alike kind of fashion show, you need to deliver this kind of atmosphere. Okay, then there's another one. I don't know whether you can see, maybe a bit dark. This whole thing here, okay, this is in China. So this whole thing here, this is not my project, this is one of my client's project, but he shared with us. This is actually a unused water tank. This is in China. All right, so they actually got this water tank, so they did all the necessary thing. This was from Piaget, and what they did was, inside was converted to a, I think dining for about, I think 30 or 50 tables, I can't remember. All right, so they converted the whole place into a dining place, and on top here, if you can see, all right, on top here, okay, it's actually a wood carving of a dragon, because this was during the year of the dragon, and I believe my clients, this Piaget spent like $1 million, something like that, just for this entire setup. Okay, so this is what we meant by you create the atmosphere for the client, I mean for the event itself. All right, so yes, so this is the 4 steps. Okay, the 4 steps are the very basic step, but what I have just shared with you is the 6 A's that we normally use when we are creating any sorts of event. Even if you say, I'm just doing this for my wedding anniversary, you still can. Your wedding anniversary, are you going to just do it as a you and your partner? Okay, so you know your audience is only your partner. All right, so what are you going to create? You can still do it, or you're not going to do it for a much larger scale event. Everything is just magnified. Okay, if it's only for a family of 10, so you know your audience, so you build from there, and then from there, if it's now 100 people, you just make it a bit bigger, and then you grow along as you go. And like I say, just remember, the 6 A's is not equal weighting. Okay, so sometimes you just put a bit more weighting. And the thing that if everything flows very nicely, your final amenities, right, you don't really need to create it. Automatically, you would have layer all the positivity. And when you hit that final 6A, the entire intangible experience, positive experience would have already been set in them already. Okay, it's just about if you decide to give them a bit more token, then you give them the little token. So yes, there you have it. Any questions?